Investigations into the copper theft at Baragwanath Hospital in Soweto are continuing after yet another incident yesterday. In a space of 2 days, 2 critical wards, the main ICU and the 2 general surgery theatres were affected by copper theft. For the latest on the story, we're now joined by Linda Mnisi, who is outside the hospital. Linda, the security there is not lax in some parts, right? And so curious how people were able to get out with this copper, rather.
Yeah, those are some of the questions, Dudu, that have come out of this, ordeal, with even the department questioning how they were even able to do what they did. But of course, they tell us that investigations are continuing. As you rightfully mentioned, there would have had to be a lot of, coordination for these suspects to even leave the premises of the hospital with these copper cables and pipes. So at this point, the department is labeling this a sabotage, because the person who would have done this is a person who would have had access to that particular plant room, which keeps basically those copper cables and the pipes that supply not only oxygen, but also high pressure water, which is also used to sterilize equipment in those theater rooms. So it is quite clear from the department side that the person who was doing this was trying to sabotage the work that is being done by the healthcare workers. In fact, what they're telling us is that this should not be viewed as an attack to the hospital, but in fact an attack to the entire community, because this hospital, an academic hospital, serves the community, and not only the communities that are close to it, but feeding off from other hospitals and other healthcare facilities. So at this point, what we understand, Dudu, is that the investigations are ongoing internally as well as by the police, who are looking into what could have possibly happened and when this incident happened. It's quite interesting that in a space of days you have people who are able to attack such critical equipment that feeds into really basically the heart of what the medical staff does at this hospital. So they're quite concerned, but where could have been the bridge, where could have been the gaps that allowed for all of this to happen? So those investigations will kind of reveal and give us a sense of where or what could have gone wrong, really.
You've had a chance to speak to the relevant authorities at the hospital, giving an assurance that this did not have a direct impact on patients, as they did have contingency.
Yesterday, we made a brief visit to the main ICU here at the Baragwanath Hospital. They just took us in to give us a sense of what it looks like. And from the interactions that we had with the medical staff as well as the staff of Baragwanath Hospital, you could tell that this really did affect operations, in their respective wards, really. One nurse telling me how frantic they were when they realized that the oxygen had become lower than normal on Monday. So they had to evacuate about 24 patients out of that main ICU to make sure that they save the lives of the people who were there. These are adults, including children, who are in that particular ICU. But I had an opportunity to also engage the head of that particular division in the hospital, and she was quite concerned, saying that if you're going to cut off oxygen, then you're basically sending people on a death sentence. You're basically, in a sense, trying to kill them. So this was quite concerning, because if you think about it, the expertise that would be needed to remove critical patients from the ICU to a different ward would really affect the health of those people who are fighting for their lives in those ICU hospital. She says that they managed to take them out and bring them back and try to stabilize them in that particular ICU. And that was quite concerning for them, given that there was potential that anything could have gone wrong, because here we're talking about critical patients. But if you also look at the surgery or the theatre wards that were affected yesterday, and the backlog of the surgeries that must take place, that public institutions like Baragwanath Hospital, where if you're going to, use and steal cable that's meant to, sterilize that equipment, it means that important surgeries have to be postponed, and that adds to the backlog and the work that already needs to go into this particular hospital. So the department is saying that the people who are behind this are people who may have had information, and it seems it was well coordinated, seeing that whatever that happened, the coppers were even able to leave the vicinity and the hospital.
Linda Mnisi, thank you very much. As you continue to work that story for us to get us more detail, we'll touch base with you a little bit later on.